Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to talk a bit on CV or resume. So in this video we are going to cover 7 different topics related to CV. CV definition, what is an American CV, what does CV mean in England, difference between CV and resume, rules for writing a CV, how to write a CV and CV format. So let's get started. CV definition. CV stands for Curriculum Vitae or Course of Life. In the US, a CV is a 2 to 12 page academic document that describes your school career in deep detail. But in Europe, like a CV is a standard 1 to 2 page resume for a job, tailored or the position. In other words, the meaning and definition of a CV depending on your location. So, in its full form, CV stands for Curriculum Vitae, like Latin for Course of Life. In the US, Canada, and Australia, CV is a document you use. It's important to remember these countries like US, Canada, and Australia. A CV is a document. There they consider CV a document you use for academic purposes, like the US academic CV outlines every detail of your scholarly career. Means what you have done in your scholarly career, you have to write those all things in that CV before applying any job. In other countries, like a CV is an equivalent of an American resume and is used to apply for a job. In American English, for CV they use resume. A CV is therefore a curriculum vitae, and other than its length and purpose, in a few English speaking countries, like a CV is a synonym for a resume. So CV is also a synonym for a resume. Like CV is used in British English and resume is used in American English. This is the main difference between CV and resume. What is an American CV? Now, what is a CV in America? In the United States, a CV document is an exhaustively comprehensive rundown of your entire academic career. Means what you have done in your entire academic career, you write those all things in CV. It's a massive, like a federal resume or academic resume, yeah, academic CV. Since it's not tailored to a specific job opening, it adds everything like universities might care about. That means every publication, conference, school project you have done. Means you write these all things in your CV or in your resume. In America, American call CV resume. They use resume word for CV. What does CV mean in England? In Europe and Ireland, a CV is a resume for a job. It's 1 to 2 pages long. It doesn't list every achievement. Instead, it touts accomplishments that prove key skills needed for the job. It's similar to American resumes with a few notable expectations. A CV for jobs is the same as a resume for jobs. Europeans and New Zealanders called it a CV and Americans call it a resume. So in Europe, like Europeans, especially New Zealanders and Britons, they call it CV, but Americans call it resume. Either way, like CV meaning is the same. It's just a 1-2 page document. Like in American, this is also the same 1-2 pages. The same in Britain or New Zealanders, they also just write CV in 1 to 2 pages, like showing skills and experience. In that 2 pages you write your skills, your education, career, and your languages, that what kind of languages you speak, your education, and many more things. What are the difference between a CV and a resume? In the hiring industry nowadays, there is almost no formal difference between a CV and a resume. It's the same thing that Brits call a CV and Americans call a resume, just like they do with chips and French. So just it's like American call CV a resume and Britons call it a CV. It's just like Britons call chips and American calls French fries, football, soccer, and Queen Elizabeth and Queen Bey. A CV is not a cover letter. Remember, a CV is not a cover letter. Many students consider CV a cover letter, but it's totally wrong. CV is not a cover letter. A curriculum vitae contains your work history. This is important, like your work history, education, skills. While a cover letter is full-blown marketing campaign, these documents are completely different. Now, what are the rules for writing a CV? Choose clear, legible fonts. The first point is choose clear, legible fonts. Go for one of the standard CV type spaces like Arial, Tahoma, and Helvetica. If you prefer sans serif fonts and Times New Roman or Bookman Old Style, if serif fonts are your usual pick. And use 12 to 12 pt font size and single spacing. For your name and section titles, pick a 14 to 16 pt font size. So this is also font size that has been mentioned here. You should use this font size. The same this types of faces, like this type of when you want to write any CV, you have to use this CV type faces like Arial, Toma, Helvetica. And the second point, that is the second rule is be consistent with your CV layout. Set 1-inch margins for all your sides, for all 4 sides, sorry. Make sure your CV headings are uniform, like make them larger and in bold, but go easy on italics and underline. Stick to a single dates format on your CV, for example like 11/12/2017 or November 2017. And the third point, that don't crumb your CV with gimmicky graphics like less is more. White spaces in your is your friend, like recruiters need some breathing room. Plus, most of the time after you send your CV, it's going to be printed in black ink on white paper, so it damages the white paper. Means when you use too much gimmicky graphics, so obviously it damages when it gets print. Too many graphics might take it illegible. And the fourth point, that get photos of your CV. Unless you are explicitly asked to include your photograph in the job ad, if so, make sure to use a professional looking picture. If you are asked for a picture, so try to capture a professional looking picture, but not as stiff as an ID photo. Don't use your ID photo. And the last point, that is make your CV brief and relevant. Don't be one of those candidates stuck in the 90s who think they have to include every single detail about their lives on their CVs. So this is just like a 90s kids they used to do. You should not repeat this all. Hiring nowadays is one hell of a hectic business. Nowadays, got the time to care for what high school you have attended, or to read 100 plus bullet points description of past jobs, and we will get to that later on. And the point, that how to write a CV, this is also important question. Like, choose the right CV format, like the paper I'm talking about, template, the paper which we use for CV. And the second point, that is lead off with your contact information. Your information is more important. Write a CV summary. And the fourth point, add tolerate word experience and achievements, like what you have achieved in your life, like documents, like certificates, languages which you speak, your skills. These all comes in your achievements. Include an education section that fits the job. Your education, like what is your education, your school numbers, the marks, the grades which you have gotten in your school, the same in your college, in your university. And the sixth point, that is salt in bonus CV sections to wow recruiters and save your work in PDF form. So this is a format for CV. I hope this will help you. Like here they have also mentioned about work experience, education, and at the last, like languages, skills, references, and hobbies. So these are important. So this was all about CV. I hope this video has been helpful for you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Take care of yourself.